Hey, you know how movies are delayed because they get called back for reshoots because something went wrong?
Yeah,
That's what happened with this podcast today.
true story.
What is happening here? Celeste, something's happening on the planet Geekery right this second.
Glix, Priority Alpha Command, open comms, now.
Loading Geek Culture language patches. Loading spiritual applications. Loading grace and hope directives. Comms opening in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Comm Talk, the podcast extension of Geek Devotions, the show from devoted geeks who are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. I am Celeste, and with me is...
Dallas.
And in case you were wondering about that little comment on the front end, we forgot to record a mic. Or we were recording the wrong mic that doesn't even have a mic hooked up to it.
Oh, it does.
It does. Where is it?
It's just that it has a cable hooked up to it. It's actually for the lapel system.
Oh, that's not turned on. We're having to reshoot this podcast.
Which ironically fits into the conversation we're having
It
today.
does. It fits the topic. So, Dallas, what are we talking about today?
So in the geeky spaces, the big news of this past week was that Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars have both been pushed back. We're looking at Doomsday coming out in 2026, which I want to tell you, I got some interesting insight about it. I got to double check something real quick while we're talking. And then Secret Wars has been pushed back to 2027, which in the aftermath of this has killed 3 untitled projects that they were supposed to have released in the time frame, and pushed back what they are calling Feige's New Age of Mutants to 2028.
Which feels like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of us who have been waiting for the Blade movie we've been promised.
Oh, that's going to be canceled already.
Yeah, I know. I know. I can still hold out hope, though.
You could try holding out hope. So, but the delay, it's a lot. It's a lot taking place, and the reason why it's taking place is because going all the way back, they canceled the original storyline of Kang the Conqueror because of other reasons. Stuff we're not going to get into because we don't have all the details on it, and some of it involves some legal stuff, and I don't want to get into all that.
Right.
So, but they canceled that whole project, the whole timeline. They had to rewrite everything. So they go to Tony Stark, like, "Hey, Tony,
No,
we know you're dead, but we need you to come back."
they go to Robert Downey Jr., not Tony Stark.
They went to Tony Stark. Oh, and, "Hey, Tony, we need you to come back."
I understand that the line between Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. is not much,
Right.
if any. Truly, I think the man thinks he is.
He might. Well, they brought back Robert Downey Jr., but he said he's only going to do it if they brought back the guys who worked on the Endgame series, which, as we've said before, MCU has not been the same since Endgame.
No, it hasn't.
At all. So, with all that, things got called back for rewrites, some reshoot stuff, and everything else because they're having to redo everything. It's pushed everything back. Of course, everyone's freaking out. They're like, "What's up with how is Tony's dead? Why is he Doomsday?" People are angry that he's Doomsday. So, which I got insight on the Doomsday thing.
Oh,
I don't think I told you this. Yes, and thankfully, because this is a reshoot, we're able to bring this out. In the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Stark is not biologically a Stark.
Yes.
He's adopted.
I vaguely remember hearing this.
In Infinity War, when he goes back in time, or in game, he goes back in time, he talks to his dad.
Mm-hmm.
His dad goes, "Yeah, well, the wife's pregnant." And Tony goes, "Oh." I want you to let that sink in for a second. Who is she pregnant with?
We're assuming Tony.
Tony's adopted.
In the movie verse?
They never flat out said. The thought process is something that's taking place within the timelines. an alternate universe where this Tony Stark never got adopted.
Oh, and he stayed in Latvia.
Or he went to Latvia somehow. He became Doctor Doom.
I mean, yeah, that'll work.
I'm like, okay, I could rock this story. This sounds interesting.
Well, the only way they could pull it off is alternate timelines.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we already have parallel universes where everything's
Right.
wild anyways.
So I was trying to explain that to somebody who isn't into this type of thing, and they did not have the patience for the conversation and
That's fair.
left
That's fair.
in the middle of it.
But I mean, you have the convergences of certain things taking place. You know, you have the Fantastic Four, which, by the way, is slated to come out July 25th. And that's a whole side universe. And because, the spoiler alert for Thunderbolts, at the end credit scene, you see the Fantastic Four ship coming into the MCU, the main MCU story of the place.
Which I think is Earth 66.
Is it?
I think that's...
Okay. 66 or 616? 616 is the comic universe. I don't know.
Hang on, I can find that information
Anyways,
out.
And then on top of that, you have Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out in July 31st, 2026, which, again, is in an alternate timeline altogether after the convergence of everyone's stuff coming in. And then you have him wishing that nobody knew who he was. And it's a brand new start, i.e. a brand new day.
Okay. MCU is Earth 616.
Okay. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, with these delays, there's been a lot of upheaval. There's some people who are just angry about it. There's some people who don't think the guys who are doing it now will do a good job. There's a lot of brouhaha. For me, and Celeste too, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we just had a whole long conversation about it. I just found my copy of No More Bullies. That's cool. It's right there. For context, we're in the space of recording is our bookshelf, and one of them, and we a few months ago we did a review of No More Bullies for the We Read Allegedly podcast, and I could not find my copy at all, and I was kind of frustrated. So we bought me a new copy, and I just looked over, and there it was. Look at me. Hello. Anyways.
The irony is I think we looked on that bookshelf.
Maybe. So anyways, that being said, where was I? All right, lots of upheaval about it. People bullying the production house because of this. But I think this will be good for the MCU if they treat it right.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this. Like, we've talked to a lot of people. People are just over inundated with Marvel properties right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot. I mean, and let's be fair, comic books and these stories can get that way.
Yeah. I
remember it was before you and I got married. I think it was before you started coming to our church, actually. I had made the decision, I'm going to get back into Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
There was a new thing that had just dropped, storylines. Okay, cool. I can get into this. So I went to Excalibur. Back when they were at their old location, I got an issue, and the next week there was a tie-in. I was like, "Oh, okay, well, a tie-in, that's cool." So I got the tie-in. The next week was something else, and then the next month, the next official issue came out. Got that issue, and it says to continue this plot line, I have to read a different comic book.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Crap!" So I go check the comic book, and it says to finish that story, I had to go to them. I was like, "What is happening here?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was going to end up having to spend so much money.
Yep.
I was like, I can't do this. And so I dipped out of it. But in MCU, we have the movies, you have the TV shows. And while a lot of it's independent,
mm-hmm.
there's so much convergence at the same time.
Right. Especially because they are trying to play on the world building that has happened in the shows. The movies pull from that. I mean, Thunderbolts is pretty much strictly built off of one movie and multiple characters from different shows.
Right. Like there's a lot taking place there.
Maybe 2 movies.
Yeah. And they did a decent job of explaining who people were.
They did.
You know, that's the thing is a show has got to be able to, a movie's got to be able to stand on its own for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, I think about one of the when we ask people like what the best movies of history were, one movie that comes up often is Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
That was, for a lot of people, that was the first time they've seen Terminator. You watch that, you can figure out what's going on pretty easily without having watched the original Terminator from the 80s.
Right.
Very easily because of the way they did the storytelling. In the MCU, they do that fairly well. There's a few things you can miss here and there, but nothing earth-shattering. But at the same time, we're just so over-inundated.
Mm.
And even to like, we were talking to somebody about Thunderbolts, and they were unsure about it because they just feel burnt out on it. And of course, we talked about this also, that it just surprised everybody at how good it was.
Right.
And so, but I think with Doomsday, this delay that we're looking at, I think will be good for us. So that brings to the conversation about other movies. Again, this has to be done right.
Right.
About with this delay to create the quality we need. I looked up a whole list of movies that have been delayed, and were really good at the end.
Right.
Most of them were not movies I've seen or cared to see. But there were 2 that I have seen specifically. I've seen a couple of ones on the list. Probably shouldn't have. When I was younger. But Titanic was delayed by 4 months.
Which astounds me
Mm-hmm.
because I legitimately, though, was not aware of Titanic until it came out on VHS.
Really?
I had a friend who had it on VHS, got it, and loved it, but I wasn't allowed to watch it. So, because of one obvious scene. And so, but that was my first knowledge of it that I can remember.
Right.
And so I didn't know that it had been delayed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then Born Identity from 2002 was also delayed by nearly a year.
Yeah.
And again, great movie.
Great storytelling.
Great storytelling. We mentioned this in the original version of this conversation. Bill and Ted was delayed severely because the production house got shut down.
Right.
Picked up, rewritten, reshot. Now it's a cult classic.
Right. So it's just nuts. The fact that sometimes delaying can kill a movie and sometimes delaying can make a movie what it is.
Right. And so, but with the case of MCU, I really feel like it's going to help.
I think so too. And I think it's also, like I said, we said this in the first round of this, but I think that it will help overall because we have gotten so used to having things immediately, having whole seasons, having, whole series of movies at our beck and call to just binge, that we don't have the well, what's going to happen next.
Right.
And also, we don't have sometimes the storytelling gets rushed and it's just not as good.
Right. Again, it's we're dealing with the concept of really quality versus quantity. And with the MCU specifically, there has been a quality issue.
Yeah.
Tons of content. And we've even seen that issues with Star Wars. Star Wars has suffered because of the quantity they put out, so the quality they put out.
Yep.
And how do I put this? I know some people have issues with the idea of quality over quantity because some people have abused the idea of it.
Right.
They have used it as an excuse to not be present, to not be part of things. But there really is an aspect of quality time that genuinely has a lasting impact in people's lives. Where you may only spend a little bit of time with something, but if it's done right, it works well for you.
Right.
And I'm hoping that they create this quality that leaves us wanting more. Because when you want that, when there's that desire for more, the expectation makes the fulfillment even better.
Yeah.
We had talked about how we had this quality of certain shows that we watched that we loved. but we only got to watch one episode a week at a time instead of binging the whole thing. And because that quality was there and there was expectation for the next one, what was just 30 minutes actually became an investment in our lives for 7 whole days to the next thing.
Yep.
So whereas there was only 6 hours of actual content of our lives given out, the quality became 12 weeks of investment in us.
Right. Well, and then also you have and I don't think I said this the first time I thought it, I didn't say it. You have the fact of, if you have to wait, it gives you more time to think about it,
Right.
to theorize, to try to figure out what's happening. We are caught up with Apothecary Diaries, and I had so many theories as to what was happening, what's going on. We haven't read the manga. I read the first manga. We haven't read the light novels. So we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But we have theories. We have thought processes as to what's going on. I refuse to look anything up because I'm scared I'll get spoiled.
Right.
But it's one of those things of, if it takes you longer to get to the next part, then it's going to stick with you a little more.
Exactly. And so there's a lot of aspects that carries over to our life, the quality time I spend with you, and like, we don't, people have said to us that we spend too much time together, and we spend a lot of time together, but it's also time that's like quality. Like, we genuinely love being together.
Right.
I don't like being away from you for a long time.
Same.
And it's how you and I are.
Yeah.
I don't get the whole mindset of like, God, I just wish my wife would just be gone for 6 hours so I can pass, I want to be with you, even if we're just chilling.
Right.
I love being with you, but there's quality there in our time together. Some people, there's not. But if we're making quality investments in people's lives, and there may be some time between hand, man, it makes us want it all the more.
Right. Well, and then talking about us in particular, even if we're just sitting there doing our own thing together, we're still talking about it.
Right.
Like, if you're playing a video game or watching something that I'm not watching and I'm reading, I may comment on something I heard. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, may have been Saturday, I was listening to an audiobook and something happened and I had to stop and pause because of what happened.
Right.
I was like, what the crap? And I'm just staring at my phone and you're like, are you okay? And I'm like, technically, yes.
Technically, yes.
But no. And it led to conversation about what we were doing. And so it became quality, even though we were doing separate things
Right.
in the same room.
Definitely. So, I don't know. It's just a lot there. And I forgot where I was going to go with this.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation piece that I've been having in my head lately about the quality aspect of things and making sure they're good.
Yeah.
Even, and again, we live in such an environment where it's like quick content, quick bits, and it's just in and out. There's no substance. There's no life. And even in like in the spaces we're on with YouTube, there's actually been some conversation about how a lot of people are moving away from the quick jump cuts and everything just moving fast and no substance, where people are going, I need a little more substance to my things. Even though we're in a world of this is funny. People complain about TikTok, right?
Right.
I'm like, oh, it's just, mindless videos. Da, da, da. What's fascinating is TikTok and YouTube and Instagram have all realized that people actually are wanting more than just 15 seconds. That they've now extended things out to, like YouTube, it's now 3 minutes for a short.
I think you can go all the way up to 10 minutes on TikTok.
Yeah.
And if it's an interesting enough video, I will sit there and let it play and listen to it.
Yeah. The myth that there's not wanting, now, it's got to be good content. It's got to be quality. That's the thing. That's what's holding people. The reason why people are flipping is because it's not quality they're seeing.
It's not something they're interested in, or it's not going to hold their attention.
Exactly. And so so stop complaining that people don't listen. Start being more interesting. All right, that's some of the problem. It's not that it's not that you aren't saying something that's quality, but you're not doing it well. You are the dude from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Bueller, clear eyes.
Dry eyes. Which legitimately, that scene drove me nuts because it was too long on his voice. But legitimately,
this is degrading.
It is. I listened to, talking about the quality, I listened to a probably 6-minute TikTok the other day about a lady ranting about books that she didn't like because she was doing it in an engaging way, and they were books that are popular. And I'm like, well, why didn't you like them? Maybe I won't like them. Do I need to not read these? And she was being very honest about it, and but being funny. So it was quality content.
Right.
Now, if she'd just gotten up there and was like, I didn't like these books because of these reasons, it wouldn't have been, I would have been like, okay, cool, whatever, and gone past.
Exactly. So, I don't know. It was an interesting thought process. And I don't really know if we have anything else we can add to the conversation. Again, it's just, I'm excited about this aspect for the MCU. I really hope they do what they need to do to make this good.
Yeah. I need good storytelling to come back. I don't need more movies. I need more impactful storylines. Like, we were talking about this the first time, the fact that Thunderbolts has surprised everybody. Because it was a fun movie, but it also was a well-told movie. A well-told story.
Right.
People loved Endgame and Infinity War, not because they were graphically beautiful, which they were, but because they did such a great job of pulling in the whole last however many movies into a story and making you care about the characters.
Exactly.
It was a masterful craft of the story. Everything else has fallen short because
they've not made us care.
They've not made us care.
Yeah. That is the thing. Give us good storytelling. And not, people don't want just something thrown out there. They want a good story.
Yeah.
They need to be told something that's impactful. You can tell an impactful story, but it needs to be done in a good way.
Yeah.
It's creative. It's not just pandering. It's not just something you just threw out there. It's not something you plugged into an AI prompt and it pumped out and you didn't touch it.
I think that's why I've been trying to think about the last several MCU series that have come out, and the one that really sticks out to me is the Hawkeye one. And that's because it was telling a good story. It was short, but it told a good story.
Yeah, I enjoyed Hawkeye. And so
some people didn't, but that's,
it's true.
Some people are always going to not like something.
Yeah. So, well, we talked about this before also, though. What the MCU has been trying to do with some of their movies is attempt to do different, what's the word I'm looking for? Genres of storytelling. Well, because people were asking, they were like, oh, I'm tired of the same old thing over and over again. But when they give you something different, you complain.
Yeah.
It's like they're giving you what you asked for, which is a different genre.
Right.
And people are complaining that it's not quality enough. I'm like, it's what you asked for, though.
Right. Well, and again, it also, to some extent, falls back on storytelling. Like, if it's not a good story, if you're not making people care about the characters, then they're not going to want to watch it. So, which is why I think Thunderbolts took everybody by surprise. Nobody expected to care about these characters.
Yeah.
And then we did.
I think people went into it thinking it was going to be another Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And,
I can see that.
Which again it was just a fun action flick. This though,
King Shark is a shark.
It was so much more.
It was.
And again, it was good. All right, guys. Well, that's about all we got. We do want to give a quick shout out to our podcast network, Culture Box Media, where you can find a plethora of shows, including our good friends over at the Cellcast. Cellcast, spelled with one L, is a podcast where they review various animated shows and movies and just have a good time. If you want a podcast, legit, if you guys just want a podcast where you could tell that the hosts are good friends and they're just having a good time together and you feel like you can be part of that, check out the Cellcast. Even if you're not really interested in the show or the movie they're talking about, they have this vibe about them where it's like you feel like you're part of it. You feel like you're part of the friendship that's taking place.
Yeah.
And great guys, great energy, and just a lot of fun.
Yep.
So again, that's Cellcast, CELCAST podcast, and check them out.
They're good guys.
Yep. All right. Anything else you need to add, baby love?
Nope, I think I'm good.
All right. Land the plane.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Comm Talk today. If you have loved this episode, head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to rate and leave a review. It is very much appreciated. So until next time, stay devoted.
Peace and love.